Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at NECA's SDCC exclusive 2-pack of Armored Batman and Predator, which is based on the Dark Horse comics, and this is something people were kind of excited about, and I'm here to tell you it's kind of awesome. There's some stuff that's not so great, like the Predator is almost completely a regular old Predator. There may be a couple new pieces, does have a new paint job. And then Batman is, of course, a whole new thing. So that's going to be the focal point of this review. We are going to talk about both all in one go, though. So let's go ahead and get them off the stand and take a closer look. Okay, like I mentioned, we're going to do both figures all in one shoot. I don't need to get more views by having separate videos. That's just silly. It's one set, so we're going to do it all at once. We're going to go kind of quickly on the stuff that's not so groundbreaking. This is roughly just over 8 inches tall, let's say, and that makes him pretty close to 20.5 centimeters. It is mostly your average Predator. I think we've seen all of these parts except for maybe the belt and loincloth. I think that's it. The rest all seems like it's been done before. Maybe that has too, and I'm just not remembering it. So it's not exactly a very special release. It's all standard parts. Just a unique paint job, which is cool. I like it. I'm not faulting them for it. I'm just letting you guys know there's not a whole lot going on. We have our little skulls there. We have our tubers, our very dangerous tubers right here and right here. Typical backpack with the hinging gun on the top there. The blades come out of the gauntlet. That's all standard. Paint job on this guy is really good. Really good. The mesh is exceptionally well painted. Very nicely done. The skin tones underneath, very, very clean. I like it a whole bunch. The armor is all pretty good. It's in his darker gunmetal-y color with a little bit of a bluish green to it, and that all looks pretty nice. There's something stuck on there. Looks like a flake of paint. It'll come off. So it looks really good. They painted these guys in this like periwinkle color almost. Very clean. The eye, I guess you call them eyes. I almost said visors, but I guess eyes is probably more appropriate. Maybe could be a little bit more vibrant and clean, but not bad at all. Definitely very nice looking. So the aesthetics on this guy, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. Very, very well executed. As for his accessories, well, we have an interchangeable head. We have the head with the mask, and then we have a normal head, which is really nicely done. Not the most vibrant Predator we've ever seen, but it looks like it's supposed to. Very clean paint job. Very, very nicely done. We have some hands. So we have the 2 gripping hands that come on him in the package. Then we have one kind of gripping hand for the blade, which doesn't work for the disc, which doesn't work very well. And then we have just a style post hand. We do have his little frisbee that does fit into his hip if you want it to. And then we have his staff naginata combination thingy. I don't even know what you would call that. Dual sword staff thingy, which is cool enough. So not a bad batch of accessories for this guy. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Alternate heads, hands, and weapons. That's pretty good. You can count the backpack as an accessory if you want to as well. One thing I didn't mention early on is we do have the opening up wrist computer thingy, which has some paint in there, but no digits are painted into the screen. It doesn't seem to close very well either, so that's kind of a bummer. As for the articulation, we've seen it all before. It's at least a single ball peg, could be a double. Feels like a double. It might just be a really good single. It has really good range for the head, except of course where the backpack is, and then the hair wants to pop the backpack off, which happens probably too easily. It doesn't snap in as well as I would prefer, but you do get decent enough range out of the head. This arm is entirely limited by the shoulder pads. We've all seen this before. If you're new to this guy, then just know it matches this articulation, except the tubers are extremely fragile, and this gets in the way a little bit. So we're gonna go over here. You can raise the arms up. Wow, these joints are very stiff. Holy crap. I can't get that joint to move. Will this one? No, not really. I can't get the hinge to work. Wow. I mean, it goes just a little bit, so be extra careful with that. I know it works. We've seen this mold before. It's just on this one, I can't get it to go. Hopefully you guys have better luck. It does have rotation, of course. Bicep swivel. Double jointed elbows work nicely. Both forearm gauntlets will rotate. This one and this one, no problems there. Wrists have a swivel and a hinge. For the torso, single ball peg, it feels like, could be a double, but you get some range out of it, not a ton. Forward and back, side to side, a little bit, and then down here, I can never quite tell if they're ball pegs or just sloppy straight pegs. It feels like a ball peg to me. You get a little bit of leaning forward and back out of that. Side to side, no, but you do get your rotation out of the top and out of the bottom. Loincloth is soft and floaty. Oh, it's on top of the existing loincloth. This has to be a new piece. If I had to guess, this is a new piece that's on top of the normal loincloth. Alright, so for the hips, This guy will come out of the way that way. This will too, although the Frisbee's in there, so it has less play. Pop that out. So the hips do go all the way out to the side. You're gonna have to finesse the soft bits though, and you can do basically straight on splits. So that's fine, no looseness there. However, we do have this issue again. The legs are conjoined. Once you pose them, it's not going to be as much of an issue, so that's not a huge deal, but it is still annoying. You do get a thigh swivel there. Nothing feels particularly loose, by the way. When they go together, they get loose, but as soon as you start to separate them, you don't really have any issue. This one could be a little tighter though. For the knees, you have a double jointed knee. Pretty much your standard fare. There you go. Pretty good range. Not the best in the world, but it'll do. This guy has a hole on his leg for the net launcher, but he doesn't have a net launcher. And then the ankles are ball pegs, which are very limited. So very run-of-the-mill Predator. Really nothing to write home about, except it does have a unique paint job. So if you're into that sort of thing, then you are good to go. Articulation on this guy only gets a 6 out of 10, especially with the shoulders being limited. Definitely a bummer. I'm going to save the final verdict. Well, I'll give individual ones and as a 2-pack. So final verdict on this guy gets a 7. It looks really cool, but it's definitely nothing particularly unique, and limited articulation definitely wears down his rating just a little bit. Okay, moving on to the main event, the one all of you came here to see, and that is the Armored Batman. NECA's foray in, well, it's not really their first release of comic figures, but first release of DC figures at this scale, I guess is a good way of putting it. So, how'd they do? Well, it's kind of interesting. I think this figure is basically the singular Batman, regular Batman release we're going to see later in the year, just with armor pieces on, and a couple new ones. Like, these pieces pop right off. So that's definitely the leg we're going to see later on. This crotch piece is clearly just a floating crotch piece on top of what we're going to see later on. These gauntlets, they pop right off. You have to take the hands off to get them off, but these come right off. Even his bat fins stick right through there. So we're going to see these arms completely again. The lower legs, however, are going to be new pieces. Lower legs and boots are separate pieces, so those are not something we're going to see again. And then the chest, it's hard for me to say. I can't get this off without messing it up, but I'm thinking we have a full chest under there as well. So it's kind of interesting that we have these different pieces that are going to be reused, but not entirely obviously. It's pretty well hidden that this is a regular figure with armor on top of it. They did a good enough job. I don't care for the fact that these pop off so easily. I kind of wish they were just a little tighter, but it's not a big deal. They don't really scratch the paint, so that's okay. And you have some flexibility if you wanted to maybe change how he looks. I don't know if that's how he is in the comics ever, but it's pretty cool. Either way, you do have shading throughout the gray undersuit, and then obviously the armor is all painted in the silver. It's very nice and shiny. The black on the shoulder pads is very clean. All in all, the paint job is very nice on this guy. Very well done. I've seen a few where the bat symbol doesn't look great, but mine in particular, or mine does look particularly good. However, my battle damage isn't one of the better examples. It's going to be hit or miss. We do have some nice details in there around the neck and the face. It's done pretty well. His eyes and mouth are very recessed on his face. It's a little off-putting, but at the same time it looks pretty good. I mean, we have seen Batman drawn particularly angularly, and I'm guessing Dark Horse is one of the people that did that, so that's okay. All in all, it looks pretty good. We do have this visor piece to put on his helmet, which is cool. However, I mean, it looks great. I love it. I love that it's transparent and you can see through it, and it's high gloss and it looks great. It doesn't snap in for crap though. There's like a little lip on there, but nah. It just barely sits in place and falls off way too easily. So what I would recommend, because it does look awesome, is just throw a little bit of poster tack on the back of the visor at the top so you don't really notice it, and that'll just hold it in place, keep it from falling, and you'll be good to go. And then the last thing as far as aesthetics go is the cape. Very nice cape. I love the material they use. It doesn't fray, and it hangs nicely at this scale, and it doesn't fray very much at all, and so I'm sure that's why NECA chose it. It's great. I've used this cloth myself for figures of this scale, and it is definitely the way to go. Love it. Very nicely done. I love the way it's tucked into his cowl also. That's a very nice way of doing that. Very cool. Okay, so aesthetics on this guy, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I really would like the battle damage to look a little bit less like a starburst pattern. And then, of course, like I said, the face, his mouth is really recessed. He's got a Christian Bale mouth going on when he yells. You know, his lips make that funny shape. Anyway. Where is she? Okay, so aesthetics really good on this figure. As far as accessories go, we have, well, I guess you could count the visor if you want to, but we just have the 2 fist hands that come out in the package, 1 trigger finger hand, and 1 little tiny pew pew, which I'm guessing is from the comics. I don't know, I haven't read these comics, but I have looked at the pictures and I don't remember seeing that. But either way, little tiny gun, does fit in the hand nicely. And then we do have his baseball bat with, I mean, I guess that's supposed to be Predator blood. It's very not blood looking, but it'll do, it's okay. And that's it for Batman's accessories. He does not have a lot. So accessory wise, I'm gonna give this guy only, I guess only a 7. I don't know that it really needs more than what it has, but it's not bad. So 7 seems fine. All right, time for the articulation. And we will do a comparison to a regular Mattel Batman figure release, one that is very popular, in a minute. So hang on, hang tight, stay tuned. So we have a double ball peg combination up here. Really good range, especially given that he's wearing this big goofy helmet. I mean goofy as in it's a big helmet. It's not goofy, it looks cool. So he's got this big goofy helmet and he still has pretty good range. I like that. Shoulder pads are connected up here. Big hindrance to the arms. Like you can still raise them up pretty well and it's okay, but rotating forward makes the shoulder pads do weird things and it doesn't look great, but you can still do it. So you do have your full ball hinge shoulder rotation, other than going all the way up. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbows. With these gauntlets, you're not going to get a ton of range. I can't even get that one to go. Let's try this side. Yeah, so you get a little bit better than 90. It's not exceptional. You'll get a little bit better range if you remove the gauntlets, but for this version, he's supposed to have them, so I'm not going to count that. And then the wrists have a swivel and a hinge. Ab crunch. It does go back. You see a little bit of a cutout in there, which is a little unfortunate, but it's barely noticeable, so not a big deal. Not really sculpted all the way through, though. This looks a little weird. I'll zoom in on it so you can see. A little bit strange. That almost looks like the lower back right there, rather than the top of the abs, so that's not ideal. Don't lean it back, though, and you won't see it, so I'll give him a little bit of credit there. You can lean him forward a couple of notches, which works really nicely, and his back is pretty well done. It's okay. Love how shiny the armor is. It's very noticeable on the back. So ab crunch is good enough. Not perfect, but it'll do. Waist twist is a waist twist. This is a floaty belt, but it doesn't really need to be, so that's fine. Hips are ball hinge hips. His crotch is a soft piece, so you can bring his legs up pretty much all the way. Give you a little bit of a better vantage point. That's pretty good right there. They do go back a little bit. That's nice. They go pretty much all the way out to the side. Not completely, but pretty darn close. So that's good. And then you do get your thigh swivel. And I know what you're thinking. Anthony, you're such a handsome guy who's very creative and wonderful. And you're right, those are true things. But you're probably also wondering, are his hips connected? Yes, they are. They're not loose though. So it's not a real big deal, it's just kind of a nuisance. For the knees, we have a double jointed knee, which works pretty nicely. No problems there. And then we do have a boot swivel. If you really want a boot swivel, you got it. And for the ankles, these things fall off way too easily. For the ankles, we do have a hinge, which is pretty minimal. Not a lot of range there. And a swivel, which is basically your standard Hasbro Marvel Legends ankle, even though everybody does this type of joint now. The feet are kind of loose and minimal range forward and back, kind of a bummer. The toe hinge is actually pretty solid, so that's good. So all in all, the articulation on this guy, certainly not impressive. Is it good enough? Yeah, probably, but it's not impressive, like I just said that. It's all right, it'll do. I'll give it a 7. Nothing is really driving me nuts here, but I do wish it was a little better in some places, but it's definitely good enough. So, final verdict on this guy alone. I think it's a pretty solid release. It's hard to say because he's all bulky and armored up, so he's a lot more limited than you would hope for him to be, but I think it's pretty well achieved. So I'm going to give it an 8. I like the overall aesthetic a lot. They nailed it. And then the articulation's good enough to support it well enough. So I'll give him an overall verdict of 8. As a 2-pack, I think he's definitely the stronger release, but the Predator is what you've come to expect from a Predator figure from them. So I'm going to give the 2-pack an overall of an 8. I don't think anybody's going to buy this and be particularly disappointed. Alright, now for a quick comparison, because these are not in scale with any of the comic book figures you already have, except for DC Collectibles, DC Direct, Marvel Select, those kind of things, Diamond. He's definitely a lot bigger. This is your standard SH Figure Arts. DC Superheroes Batman, DC SH Batman, probably the best comic Batman figure out there. Not compatible. just so that you guys have an idea. They're not even close. This will not fit in with your Marvel Legends, Mattel, anything like that. This is definitely a lot bigger, so be aware of that. But on its own right, they're just awesome. Very nice set. Well done, NECA. I'm looking forward to seeing the Batman, and I guess it's going to be Green Lantern release, huh? That's what you're hinting at. So I'm looking forward to seeing those. But all in all, very nice showing. And there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to, because I have new videos up just about every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.